Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soul Connections Conversations. This is a gathering space where we share our spiritual journeys and our soul's connections, purpose, and gifts. We're weaving a spiritual community here. On my spiritual journey, I have met so many wonderful soul sisters and brothers that are soul connections. Wonderful souls that have helped me, guided me, and taught me, and above all, connected at a deep soul level. I'm honored, happy, and excited to bring them into this circle to share their stories with us. And today I have my good friend, Jacques Burgering. Hello, Jacques.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank
Good, good, good,
you.
good.
Thank you for being here. And you're coming in from New York today.
Yes, yeah, like just for today. Tomorrow I'm flying back.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Let me read your bio for the audience here to
Mhm.
see who you are. Jacques has been learning for more than a decade from shamans of the Andes, the Quechua, Quero, and Mexico, the Toltec and Maya, and continues to do so. With their permission, he created a healing practice empowering people to reach for their highest human potential through ancestral healing, cord cutting, psychic surgery, soul retrieval, and more. They also encouraged him to teach the ancient Toltec Mexica ways of healing and dreaming in the USA and abroad, which he has been doing. He feels deep gratitude towards these many indigenous healers, teachers like Sergio Magaña, Nakashi, Gomez, amongst others, and Mother Earth, who generously share her wisdom. Jack loves to dance, improve people's homes, and spend time with Mother Earth in his vegetable garden, sharing the fruits with neighbors and friends. Next to providing individual healing sections, he also calculates people's Aztec calendar and works as a certified Reiki master practitioner. That's so wonderful, Jack. I know you. You have so many talents and gifts. So thank you
Mhm,
for
mhm.
being here.
So great to be here. Like really, yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Tell the audience about yourself. How was your growing up like, your childhood, and any significant stories that you feel contributed to your interest in the spirit
Yeah,
world.
yeah. It's like I grew up in Holland, and my father was from the north, and he grew up in between the dunes and the forests, and my mother was a city kid from like the west, and like growing up we spent like living in the city, but my father was always like an enormous force in like getting out of the city, getting out in nature, going to the beach, teaching about the ocean. And he would teach me like and my brothers and sisters, I got five brothers and sisters, to like how to work with the soil, like how to like plant, how to grow, how to harvest, how to can our food. And so my father, in terms of like nature, was like a major inspiration for me, a major example for me growing up. And um, and like and since he grew up in nature, he taught me like the things that were happening on the beach and that were happening in the dunes and in the forest. We built huts, and I found bones from like rabbits and seagulls, and like and so I always had like, I had even like a little vitrine, like with like bones of like even like a jaw of a horse, like I had in there. It was fun, like as a kid. I don't have that anymore, but I still have actually some bones left, which is really amazing. And my father, he never realized his dream. He wanted to go to Australia and immigrate to Australia, but my mom didn't want to, so we stayed. But my father spent in the years after the Second World War for a year and a half in New Guinea. And New Guinea, and at that time it was a Dutch colony, and until its independence in the early 60s. And my father was the guy with like the Morse person, like on an airplane, and with the Marines, with the Navy, actually, with the Air Force part of the Navy. And he had all these stories about like the indigenous people of New Guinea, and that's where my first interests came from, like in terms of like wanting to know about other people and about their habits and their ways of living, and things like that. And yeah, and like I think like in terms of like spirit, like I think spirit was for me like in nature, and like I was always like with like when we would go on vacation, we would go to the ocean. So I always was like digging holes, building mountains, trying to fight the ocean and things like that. And but in terms of like the spiritual part, I grew up Catholic, which was in many ways it was like a liberal Catholicism. So there was a lot of space of thinking on your own, and it wasn't like all like Rome oriented. And that's where I learned the ceremony part of life, and it is not the form that I do ceremonies now anymore, but it definitely raised me to like an awareness of like how important ceremonies are, and to find a connection with like the higher spirits, name it God or spirit or whatever, to find a place for that in your life. And that was uh, I really enjoyed that place. It always felt as a sacred place for me, to go to church, but I think I experienced spirit in the other way as not so pleasant, mostly in my nightmares as a kid, and that was not that great, And then during my teenage years, I really started like reading more about esoteric things, in like when I was 15, 16, 17, I had more interest in that. And I really started to go deeper and more about the scientific parts and the things about like the nature and the universe. And that was actually really fascinating. And it kind of like went hand in hand with my political awareness, because it was the high tide of the Vietnam War. And that kind of like the awareness of what was going on in Vietnam basically gave me a break with my home traditions, the things that I got from my parents, in terms of like political awareness, in terms of like religion, in terms of like what was important. And it really raised my awareness of the larger world. And I think it was one of the major things that helped me decide to study history, in during my 20s. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you
And
for sharing that. That one, I had no idea the Vietnam War affected you because you were in Europe. I mean, it was a
yeah,
global
yeah,
event, but
yeah.
yeah.
But like we went on like a high school trip, it was like 11th grade, and we went on a week trip for like 5 days. And during those 5 days, we went to like an educational center. And the people that taught there, they would send us out to like talk to a pastor, talk to a vicar, talk to like a preacher, talk to a rabbi. But also they would send us to like a homeless shelter, or they would send us to create social awareness. And in that whole process, the political situation at that moment, which was the Vietnam War, which was like daily on our TV screen, that also came to the foreground, and that was something that we talked about, and what was happening there. And of course, in high school, like in history classes, we had heard one version of it, but in that center we heard the other version of it. And that really made me aware that there was more to it than just like fighting communism, that there was more to that. And so that the Vietnam War, and the fact that my father very consciously lived through the Second World War, these two elements together really like made me decide to like start studying history in my 20s. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, how fascinating. See, I always learn new things about you. So good. All right, let's
Forever about that part.
All
Yeah.
right, so let's move forward of how and when was your spiritual awakening? Tell
You
your
know,
story. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So my spiritual awakening, I don't have like one moment in time where I can say, well, that's what happened. But I feel like, from my 16, 17 years on, from when that twist happened, and I started to like break away from my home base, from the family that I grew up in, I started like dating women, for instance, that had more progressive views and were looking into more alternative ways of living and of cooking and of healing ways. And so it was mostly through them initially that I learned about, like, oh, there is ways of like making like medicine from plants, or and we had this thick book in my 20s when I was married for the first time. Like we had this thick book of Dr. Vogel, and he was like a Swiss doctor, but he did everything based on nature and natural products, and nothing was like artificial or chemically produced. So that's where it started for me, and then it just grew up over time, like through my travels, through um, eventually through starting a dance career, like later in life, and like trying to figure out what my body was all about and how that fit together with my own healing. And so that at the physical level, I had done the historical parts of the outside world, tried to figure that one out, and then I was like, oh, let me figure out my body. I can say that now. It's like at that moment you just do whatever your heart gives you, and and then after the dance, after I retired from dancing, I started doing yoga, which was a logical extension, but it had like an additional spiritual element to it as well. And so, it kind of like grew over time, like for me, like in increments. But like I think that the most important thing, and also that's the part that I feel like that I'm very grateful for towards my parents, is that they hesitantly gave me, an impetus to follow my heart. Because I didn't always agree like how I managed my path in terms of my following my heart. But like I studied history and went teaching, and I started teaching in high school, and did that for years. And then I started dancing, and that was because that's really what I felt I needed to do. And after my dancing, I hooked up with yoga. I started doing yoga, and then I fell in love with that, taught yoga. And then from the yoga, it's all like you add layer onto layer, outside, inside, physical, emotional, spiritual, and all of a sudden you find yourself landing in the world of healing and shamanism. And yeah, and then you start, I started after my yoga teaching course, like one of my fellow students introduced me to a Vedic astrologer. And she, at the end of the session, said, to me, I don't know why I say this, but I think you have to do something with shamanism. So why don't you look in the town that you are, because she was in Canada. So she was like, look in the town where you are and see whatever is there in terms of a shamanic course. And I lived in New York at that time, and so I just Googled it, and I just found a course at Open Center here, and started studying with somebody who taught courses in healing and shamanism. And then from there, I started traveling and going to Peru and Ecuador, and meeting shamans there, and learning ways from them. And then during, after learning things, I was so excited that I was like, I want to do this for other people. Like, kind of like my entire life, like teaching history was about bringing people, like make awareness, give them awareness about the world. Dance was the same, give them awareness about their body, with yoga about their body and spirit. And now with healing, learning from these shamans, I was like, I need to share this with people. This is what I want to do. Like, again, like just following my heart, in that respect. And that's what I've been doing like since like the 2013, 14. The teachers that I was working with, they were encouraging me to like start doing healing, and it's with their permission that I started doing healing work. And over time, like working with more and different teachers in different traditions, mostly American, like as in the American continent, so Mexican, Peruvian, Ecuadorian. Um, they encouraged me all to like do the healing work, and that's really like, it's like, because like it's nice that they saw that in me, but on the other hand, like there is like I'm also aware that I'm a white person, and I'm a white male, and in that sense, it's not natural, that I will adopt, ancient Mexica ways, or ancient Inca or Quechua ways of healing, and that I make them my own, and that I then start, doing a healing practice. So it was really because I got their permission of my teachers and their encouragement, that I was like, okay, I feel comfortable doing this. And I say comfortable, it took me up till like almost like last year, to like really feel comfortable and say, okay, yes, they gave me the permission. It is okay. You don't have to worry about, that you're like culturally like doing cultural appropriation and just take things and because I honor my teachers where I go. Like I will always talk about them. I always will honor them. When I start healings, I will always honor each one of them that that have been the biggest influence on me always. And I think that's important. Because it is so um you know we tend to be in Western society pretty lackadaisical about our teachers. Oh, we had a teacher for history and for geography and for math and for chemistry and for whatever, and we don't always honor the things that they have contributed to our lives, and so I really feel that's really important that that happens every single time that I do a healing session. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I appreciate that about you. And like I told you before, you were just reincarnated in the wrong country.
Yeah.
You really embody the Mexica traditions and everything that you've learned through your teachers. You really embody and practice that. And that's how I see you, Jacques, my friend. And that brings
I'm glad.
me, go ahead.
Yeah, because like, for me, it's really important, like, when, you can be teaching, but you cannot only talk about, you also have to live it, and there are um I think it really is important that as a teacher that you practice what you preach, and sometimes people ask me like, do you know somebody, do you know this, where can I learn this, where I can learn that? I say, well, look at the person, are they walking their talk? That's number one. If they don't, it's not a teacher for you, because they cannot talk from experience, and you only can talk from experience. I can only teach about dreaming about because I dream and because I know how to work with my dreams, and I have worked with my dreams and continue to work with my dreams. But if you don't have that experience, you talk more from knowledge. It's just information. It's not lived experience, and I think that's really crucial. Yeah.
Oh, yes, you just hit that point right there. Lived experience. And that's why I guess we became soul connections because, like, after here, what, 6 years later, we still
Yeah.
are in different
Yeah.
collaborations that we've done. And that's how we met 2018 in the Dream School by Sergio Magaña.
Yeah.
And that's what Jacques is all about, Dream School and the Aztec birth chart. And let's go into that because it's so good and fascinating. I want people to discover these, other tools that we
Yeah.
have available to us, and from our ancestors.
Yeah. Yeah. We often use like birth chart, but like, I think that the the ancient Mexicas wouldn't look at that. It's like really like a map. It's kind of like the overview of potential that you have when you're entering this world, and so the year, the month, the 20-day month, the 13-day period, your trecena, your day, your hour of 72 minutes, your quarter of 18 minutes, all of these elements are important for what determines your potential for this lifetime. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have what I do is like I create an overview based on like old stats and oral traditions to like get all the information together about a person, and I calculate that, and then I share as much as possible about that with them. We all have these 20 potentials, as there are called, or there's some people called like the day glyphs, but there's like 20 potentials. And we all have them within us, but some of them are more pronounced because of the day that we're born on than others. So for instance, like in your case, you are born on a day, if I remember well, to water, Omat, so that gives you the potential, like, and I'm looking at your blue dress and I'm thinking, yeah, there you go. Like, it's like water all there, you know. So but like the cool thing about it is like the water is like, you know, it's a powerful force, you know, and it adjusts, you know, to wherever it is, but it never loses its essential nature, you know, and that is like beautiful, you know. That's the power of water. You know, if you put it in a milk bottle, it stays water. If you put it in a jerry can, it will still be water. You know, if you put it in a cup, it's still water. Nothing changes, you know. So and you know, and it's transparent, you know, and so it, you know, power is water is a beautiful force. Now, the interesting thing is, you know, for instance, in your case, water, the day of water, it has a guiding force. And the guiding force in this case, in your case, is Shurtukuchtli. And Shur, it means fire, but it also means time. It also means herbs, you know. So it has, and it means precious, it means turquoise, precious stones, you know. And so I'm just going to show you briefly, like, you know, so I work with like amazing teacher Akashi Gomez, and this is like he works with like one of the many codices that are still available at the moment, you know, and this is from the Borgia Codex. It's a facsimile edition, and so in this case, this is one of the images that here, you know, where my finger is, that's the sign for water, and then next to it is Shurtukuchtli, and you know, and I don't know if you can see it well, but like there is like there's a band of precious stones, you know, with a blue band around him with like little circles and lines, and then on his head he has like a little shurtotot, which is a like a fire. It's not really a firebird, but it's it's a bird that is connected to him, and you know, and sometimes, you know, he has like on his chest in this tota in this codice, it has like a butterfly in the color turquoise, and sometimes he is even holding like in different codices like a churkoat, which is a fire serpent, you know. So you know, and just learning about this language, because that's what it is, you know. It's like it's so fascinating because it's so intricate, because you know, so often Western culture has you know, talked about like ancient history, you know, as like barbaric and you know, and things like that, while if you look at this culture, you know, and the intricacy of like these images, there is a level, there's a high level of sophistication to it, and at the same time the principles amongst it that are underlying it are like very simple. And I just love that, you know. And with us humans too, we're like inherently simple, and at the same time, oh my god, are we complex, you know. And so like doing people's tonalamat, because that's what it means, like it's the map of your life, it's like the paper basically of your life. And the paper originally was made out of agave. No, of oh my God, now I forgot it for a second. I will come back to it. But it was made of a certain paper, and these tonal lamats I also use, you know, for as a preparation for my healing sessions. When I meet people for the first time, I ask them, do you want to share this with me? And your information, birthday, time, place, you know, and things like that. And if they do, then I calculate their tonalamat. And what I always ask is about their dream world, because you know, as you know, and I know from the dream school, and like, but from working with other people as well, is that our world we create through our dreams. You know, everything we've created in our life, we dreamed, if we like it or not, you know. So I know, yeah, that's the other side of it. But like the tonalamat gives you an indication of the information of the tendency that people have in their dream world, you know. And in that sense, it's very different from Western astrology. You don't hear a lot about like the dream world in that sense, you know. So and I find the dreams just fascinating because it tells you so much, you know, also about myself. Like I've on and off through the years kept a dream journal, but nowadays I'm pretty consistently, you know, it's like, and it's nice like to be in a different bed in a different city, you know, because then your dreams are like flaring up like crazy, you know, so there's a lot to learn there. So it's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's why it's so, oh my God, it's just like so interesting. And it's like, I feel like we're like digging like an archaeologist. Like, you know,
Yep.
we're looking through all these. I mean, this is just a little snippet of the Aztec Toltec calendar. It's like, wow, it's like a lot
Yeah.
to dig in and to learn and to also like all the different glyphs. Like, you know, I know in like my chart, you know, there's your guiding force for the year, for the day, then different animals that are like, you know, so like talk about in like the dreams, like you also mentioned, it's like it's so important because this is what the ancients did, you know, live through their dreams and planting the seeds in their
Yep.
dreams.
Yes.
So yeah, go ahead and expand on all of that. I know you've done a lot of
Well, like
exercises.
I'm teaching actually that a workshop which is called How to Manifest Your Dreams, and I use it both in a workshop setting and an individual setting for my clients. You know, but it's basically, you know, like a way of like through breathing practices entering your subconscious, because that's where most of your behavior is determined. You know, we think, you know, that our conscious mind is doing most of the work. We do most of the work, but like actually behind the scenes, like more than 90% of our behavior is run by our subconscious. And so if we have access to that, then we have a way better, we can be more in charge of our life than when we don't. And so, and so I really love teaching that workshop because I've seen on so many levels like that people are able to manifest that the things that they really are looking for. You know, be it a partner, be it a new apartment, be it a job, you know, as long as you're willing to like go deeper into your subconscious, you know. And it's called the dark place, you know, and it's often connected, like in history was connected also like to women and witches and all this kind of things. But you know, like, yes, exactly. But you know, we have done, and I say we, I think in part like my masculine predecessors have done like, and have done us a disservice by trying to eradicate that out of like Western society. And it makes me only like more grateful towards the many indigenous teachers that keep on bringing up the dreams and keep on stressing that. And I just want to perpetuate that in people's lives as well, because in your dreams you actually find out who you really are, you know, like how you're operating in the world, not like, you know, like operating in this world and in the way that there's like the pretend, not entirely, you know, there's definitely a level of authenticity and honesty, but you know, like if you really want to know inside what is really going on within yourself or somebody else, then you want to know, you know, what their dreams are, you know. And so I really love digging with people, like, because it is human archaeology. That's it. So is, you know, really, you know. So I love that. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned about the darkness but that's where you plant the seeds. You know,
Yep.
the womb is the dark waters. The new moon is also when you plant the seeds with your intentions. The earth where you plant the seeds is dark matter.
Yes.
So
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
it's just the narrative that it has been given to it, you know. That's why I say when you say witches and all of them, like, yeah, I mean, you know,
Good. Good.
yeah. And
Good.
both of my heritage, you know, there are people connected to the land and working with herbs and the trees and the rocks and all of that. So yeah.
And in nature, you know, like in our human world, over time, we have created, at least in Western society, a judgment about like light and dark. And you know, and so light was identified with men, and you know, and dark was identified with women. Well, in nature, the feminine is dark and the masculine is light, but it has nothing to do with men and women, you know, since we have both forces within ourselves, you know. And so, and I feel like there is a lot of like confusion about that, about the distinction between male, female, and masculine, feminine. So, So yeah, so I always love to stress that that feminine part, that is something that we're many of us are trying to regain within ourselves in this time and age. And that also makes me hopeful, you know, and optimistic about the process that we're in as a society. Not that it all looks so beautiful out there, but you know, there is also something coming up from the bottom up that that I hope we are part of, you know, and that is, and I have seen it grow over the past 20, 30 years in many ways, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's beautiful. And we're both feminine and masculine energy, and we are like the yin and yang. We're both, and bring that into balance. And yes, I think generally we're like awakening to the divine feminine energy within us.
yep,
And that's the energy of receptivity, of nurturing, which we need a lot nowadays, the way things are. So, like you say, it's not male and female, is each human being, having those energies and not hiding it or not being afraid of it, and just embracing all of you, who you are. And like times are really needing now to embrace that nurturing divine feminine energy, the receptivity and all of that, and the masculine to protect that,
yep, yep, yep. And you know, like, and in nature everything is masculine and feminine, you know, like the moon in the Toltec tradition has like something like 13 names or something like that, but 9 of them are feminine and 4 of them are masculine. You know, the sun has masculine and feminine names, you know. So you know, what, and I really love that about this tradition is that, you know, it has that everything is one and the other, you know, and it's not separated. They're complementary to each other, and instead of like opposite to each other, like it's complementary. And you know, and both sides make us one, you know, 2 of those make us one.
Yeah,
So
because these are energies we're talking about,
yeah,
feminine and
exactly.
masculine. It's not a person, body, physical aspect. It's energy we're talking about.
Yep, yep, yep,
And
exactly.
everything is energy, and then energy doesn't end. It just transforms and keeps moving, so that's why we got to keep moving these energies and transform things.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So can you tell us like what you, and you have many gifts, you already share what you're doing, but can you give a little bit more information for the audience to how they can work with you? What do you offer? You already mentioned, the Aztec calendar,
Mhm.
birth chart reading, and
Yeah.
your healings, but go a little bit more into all of that and what you have coming up later this year.
Right. Okay. So like I work, my preference is in healing and teaching, you know. And the Tonalamat is also like a way of it's like digging archaeology, but it's also like a way of teaching and sharing something about people's potential. Like at the core of everything that I do, like, and it was the same as a history teacher, and it was the same as a dancer and dance teacher and yoga teacher, and in the work that I'm doing now, what I'm really interested in is like empowering people. And for me, I want to bring the best out of people so they can grow to what they are supposed to be doing in their lives, you know, so they can dream, they can live their dream, you know, their inner dream, the deep dream inside, you know. So that's, you know, at the base for me and everything that I've done in the past, even like when I worked like catering jobs in like New York City, you know, because it was always in service of like making things life, making life better for other people. But the things that I do now in terms of like the healing work and the Mexica tradition, most of the work I do now is in the Mexica tradition. I still use some parts of the Andean tradition, but most of the work that I do nowadays is like in the Mexica tradition. And and so that's where the Tonalamat comes from, you know, the Aztec calendar, you know, because that's how it's called, or the solar calendar, as a tool for me towards my clients, but also as a tool for my clients to know more about themselves and about their dream world, and therefore about themselves. And then I love doing the healings, you know, because it's very direct. You know, I do them over the phone. I work with people in Australia and in Europe, and like, you know, and it's amazing like what you can do over the phone. But my preference is still like, you know, face to face, you know, even though we're now face to face and through Zoom, but but I love the face-to-face live, with people. Like, and that was really wonderful to be here in New York again, because that's where there my clientele was in the past. And I love teaching workshops. Like, throughout my life, I've been teaching. Like, I've been teaching as a Boy Scout, 7, 8 years old. I was as an Eagle Scout, as a gymnast, as as an athlete. Like, I taught history, dance, yoga. Like, teaching has always been part of my life as well. And it's such a fulfilling practice, because it's something that I can share, and especially what I teach is mostly now in the Mexica tradition. But it's also like something that's coming back towards me as well, when I see that people absorb it and make it their own and use it and really enhance their life that way. And so I teach workshops about dreams, how to manifest your dreams, and we plant the dreams in your subconscious. I teach workshops out workers of energy, like how cords exist between people, energy cords, and how we have to make sure that we have to cut some of them, because otherwise they keep sucking energy out of us. I teach workshops about conscious dreaming, conscious dying. I talk the kin, which is kind of like they call it Toltec yoga, but it's not really, but that's how it's called. But you do certain postures with breathing combined to enhance your dreaming and to clear your dreams and your inner worlds. Oh my God, like, so there's, the whole list is on my website, and I am always, like, I try to, like, rejuvenate myself in that sense as well, to start like new workshops as well. I'm doing it like here in the US. I've been teaching here in New York a lot. Like, I'm teaching in California. My roots are in Holland, so I've built up connection in Holland. So like next month I'll be in Holland and in Vienna, in Austria, and so here around New York, I've been teaching, like in New Jersey, a wonderful meditation studio called Sacred Space. I've been able to teach there for many years. It has been a very welcoming space, and so, and I mostly teach like to the people that I meet, like, because there's a person who comes here in New York, but they happen to live upstate New York, and so then, or they move upstate New York and say, Jacques, can you teach me there? And then, okay, then we'll find a group of people together, and then I'll come. Like, it is really like, I love traveling. I love seeing new places. I love seeing new people, and helping people and help them move forward in their lives. There is nothing more fulfilling than that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. You're the traveler, and the tribe just comes to you. And there's always people, like you say, people, and it piques their interest, and then they tell their friends. So I love it that you are spreading the Toltec wisdom and practices all throughout the world. That is fantastic, and I
Yeah, my
appreciate you for that.
teachers and my teachers always say, like, if you don't share it, then it becomes dead, and then it becomes like book wisdom, and then it becomes, and so, and one of my teachers, Akasha, he sometimes just, says, if your circumstances are such that you cannot pay for my class, it's not the most important thing. Yes, I have to make a living, but ultimately, if I don't have any students, then the knowledge doesn't move, and it doesn't stay alive. And I need an audience to teach, so, and I feel that same way, like that, if you keep the wisdom like only to yourself, and limit it and say, oh, only those people may know it, or only those people may know it. Although for certain types of knowledge, there is a limitation of who should know it. There is a lot of knowledge that can be shared, and I'm very happy that my shamanic teachers have shared it with me, and that I can be like another medium in that sense and share it with other people again. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why you're here, because this is what we're doing here, sharing our, experiences, our wisdom, our knowledge. And so people can find us and work with you and with me, and, like building the community, weaving, even though it's done online, but I feel like, it works really well. A lot of us, sometimes, time constraints or traveling, it's kind of become hard to be together in person,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
even though you may be surrounded by a lot of people, but they're not your people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's cool to see you weave that web, because I also looked at your calendar because, because your weaving force, for the night, for your dreams is the spider, so that builds connections, and with other people, but it also builds connections with our ancestors, with our ancient memory, and that's what you're doing. So this is awesome that, like you're really like that dream force, you're Noel of you're Lord of the night, and the Noel that comes with it. That's really what you're embodying. So I'm very happy that you're doing what you're doing, so it's
I
awesome.
know.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes,
right.
the spider medicine. And I think you know the story. I had this spider initiation. I got bitten by a spider
Uh-huh.
that he caused, an infection and everything. And, this was before, actually, it was at the end of 2012 when the magic time of the
Uh,
end of the world, but,
yeah.
and then I talked to Sergio about it and, he gave me the meditation I should be doing at night when, like all this important information for me to be aware of that has helped me.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. It's awesome. Yep, yep.
Yeah, and you're the Mr. Eagle. Let's talk about your Eagle Path Healing School that you have
Oh yes, I
here.
forgot
Talk
about
about
that.
that,
Yeah, yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So last year I started a very foundational course, for people that want to go on this healing path for themselves, or eventually maybe even like helping other people. And I've called that the Eagle Path. And that's, it's funny because the name came about like first, and then I realized that, my name, my Toltec name is Five Eagle, and that of course is no coincidence, but the name came first, and it's really like the way I look at it is really a foundational course about people that are looking to heal themselves and maybe even want to heal others, even in the long run. And it's 5 weekends. I've been teaching them in New York last year, and it was really wonderful. The people that came out of that, they're doing it. And so I'm very excited about it. And I'm saying the stress is for me like to build a framework. It's a foundation, and of principles. Feminine, masculine, workings of energies, the importance of dreams, different Toltec healing methods that I learned from Sergio Magana and that he allows me to teach to others again. Um, and basically create like a toolkit for people who want to start doing this work. Try it on themselves and with each other during the course. And if they feel they want to do it, like continue doing it, fantastic, because that definitely will make the world a better place. And that will start. This course is like 5 months. I may extend it like again to like 9 months. It depends on like enthusiasm and the level of the class and how things interact between people. And it's like 5 weekends, 1 weekend a month, starting in September. I will start in New York again because that's where I did it last year. But I'm talking also like with people in Holland to do it like in a different format. And I'm looking at some different options as well of like breaking things down so people can take one course and in 1 weekend. But what I'm looking for is like for that Eagle Path for those 5 months for people who want to do that for 5 months. Who want to commit to those 5 months and also not only commit to the knowledge and the practice, but also to each other, because as you are entering this like very vulnerable space, things come up, and it's important that people can support each other along the journey as well. So as much as dedication and commitment to the course, it's also important that there is a commitment towards each other and that it stays a safe place all the way from the beginning till the end. And it's been a wonderful experience. For me, teaching it last year was the first time, so this will be the second time. But also I feel like that as like I was supposed to like teach it last year, September again, and my father passed, and it has given me a different insight in how to teach and how to operate, and also with more urgency, because I feel like this is my mission in life, like to get this knowledge out there, like, you know, infest more people with the beauty of all this beautiful tradition, and to like and get them to heal the parts of themselves that are necessary so they can move forward in our lives. Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful the work that you do, Jacques. I appreciate it. And all this information is on your website, which it'll be right here below the video. So you can contact Jacques and check out what he has coming up. And if you're interested in joining any of the offerings he has or working any healing, those are wonderful. That's wonderful work. So everything that he has to offer is on his website, and you can email him. He's really accessible, and he's all over the world. So who knows, like
Thank
come
God
to
for
your
email.
he'll come to your town if you ask him.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Jack. Such a
Thank you
wonderful
so
talk
much.
over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to have you here,
Thank you.
showcasing you would put in the spotlight on you that you have right there. and
Yeah.
and yes, I'm happy to bring you here into this circle so you can share your gifts, your soul's gifts, and with the audience, so people can find you. And that's like like the spider, just putting the web out there, putting the container together to bring the tribe, bring the people who resonate with what we bring into the world. So thank you so much, Jack.
Well, thank you so much for like having me today and for like including me in your web, so thank God it's not a web of fear. So
Yeah, love it.
yeah,
Well,
Lasso Kamati.
okay, Tlaso Kamasi. Have a beautiful evening, Jack.
You too. Take care now.
Bye,
Ciao, ciao.
everybody.
Yeah, bye bye.
Bye.